Hello. In this video, I'm going to go over the biggest mistakes I made within my cybersecurity and IT career. This video will literally save you years of time. Now, the first thing that I wish I had known and actually did was never asked anyone for mentorship. This is something that I didn't really see the value in, as I'm an incredibly self-reliant and resourceful person, and so why should I ask someone for help? I'm going to pave my own way. You can actually save yourself a lot of time if you ask for mentorship. It does take a little bit of a humble attitude and humility. And literally, now I appreciate my time way more than I appreciate doing everything on my own. I think it's because after I turned 30, I just had a better value of my time. If you're before 30, you may not have that full appreciation. Sometimes you will have to pay for your mentor. For instance, at this point in my life, I actually just recently paid someone $10,000 for a year of mentorship. So I don't suggest that if you're early career. If their mentorship can save me 1 month of time in searching random resources or on the internet, or just doing it and then figuring it out and then doing it, if they can save me $10,000 in terms of time based on my current salary, then it's 100% worth it. My YouTube channel is literally everything that I wish I had known when I started out my career, so you don't have to go through those same mistakes. My second one is I tried to learn everything before actually doing it. So I am a huge degree and certification junkie, and I'm really trying to recover from that. School, whether you realize it or not, really just teaches you that you need to have all of this random information, and then they teach you to memorize and take tests and regurgitate this information, but you never actually apply it and you never actually do it. And the thing is, neither has the teachers that are teaching you. They've never actually worked in the field, and then they're teaching you something that they read in a book, but they have no context to which to apply it. This is honestly a huge problem. I recently discovered a book called The Unschooled Mind, and they talk about the concept of transfer. And what they have found is a lot of knowledge that you learn within a school environment actually does not transfer to a real world context. And then it just hit me like a brick in the head and answered the question that I had for so many years. Why do people who are academically smart oftentimes aren't smart in other areas of their life? That knowledge and smartness doesn't transfer to the real world for some reason. And it's because of the concept. There are tons of research studies showing that if you try to learn everything without any context, it does not transfer. You could spend 4 years in a college degree, get your first job, and not be able to transfer any of that knowledge. So it's almost just a huge waste of time. Also, you don't know how to apply that to new situations because you've never actually used it. It's just all theory in your head. So collecting all of these facts without implementation is totally pointless. So I know the old adage is knowledge is power, but really it's knowledge in use that is power. And ever since I discovered that book, my life has completely changed in terms of how I view certifications and degrees, because I realize how trivial and pointless they are. I spent so much time just studying for certifications when I could have actually just been building out projects and learning about it and then applying those concepts and learning as I go. There's a lot of programs that just teach you by lecturing, tons of them, and they'll charge you thousands and thousands of dollars for it. It's so pointless. It's all pointless. For some reason, all of these employers want these degrees where you memorize a bunch of facts. It's so silly. I've been doing tons of projects lately, and I have learned so much by doing these projects than anything else. The third really big mistake that I made within my cybersecurity and IT career is that I didn't network. Now, the easiest way to bypass a lot of these hiring requirements and degrees and certifications is by having a network. I remember I literally got a job without really interviewing, simply because I knew someone who worked there knew and then referred me. It's literally the easiest way. The way people teach networking is not good. There is an authentic way to network. Also, not that I want to bring up any political debates, but being a female in a male-dominated field can also be a little bit more difficult. I know it's something like people don't really want to acknowledge, but I know plenty of women who have told me that they feel incredibly intimidated to actually go to networking events and conferences because there's going to be mostly men. And as someone who was a soldier within the United States Army, I can understand like why someone would be intimidated, and even I still get intimidated even though I'm basically just conditioned to it. I think that is something that is a thing if you're a female looking to break into the field. It can be a little bit more difficult and maybe intimidating. Not that people in the field are not accepting or welcoming. It's just intimidating, basically, to a female. I have definitely worked at places where I was the only female and there was like 50 dudes. I also have different interests and a different temperament, and it's not as easy to network. That's all I'm going to say. So some tips to network is number one, attend conferences. I'm sure you have a conference for cybersecurity within your state unless you live in South Dakota. Some ones that come on the top of my head are Wild Whacking Fest and DEF CON, but those are mostly focused on hacking. There are some other ones. Local ones would be best, and attending in person honestly would be best. Hacking ones in the cybersecurity field, hackers are elitist a little bit. That is changing. There is just this elite attitude in that community, and I just don't really vibe with that. The next really big mistake that I made within my cybersecurity career is that I didn't negotiate my salary. Now, this is something that is super common in the field, but it's also really common for, I would say, women, but also veterans, just accepting the first offer. And now at this point in my life, I have negotiated $30,000 up from the initial offer, and I've also helped coworkers negotiate. I've also helped friends and coworkers negotiate $20,000 plus on that initial offer. Never accept the first offer, and always see if they'll tell you the range. When the recruiter asks how much do you make, sure to not tell them how much you make, because they're looking for data points. So they're always going to try to give you literally the least amount of money as possible. Remember, if they go first, that's probably not even at the top of the range. It might be a little bit in the middle or lower to middle, but they expect you to negotiate a higher range. Now, you can do this when the job offer comes. That's when I prefer to do it. That way you get past that initial interview, and then once that offer comes, it means that they like you and they want you. So they're not just going to not hire you because you asked for $20,000 more, especially when you're in a really high demand field like cybersecurity, and you can also communicate. Super rare quality. Another really big mistake that I made is that I just took the first jobs that came along. This is what is commonly taught, that job hunting is just like a numbers game and you should just pick something, but you really shouldn't choose the first thing that comes along. Imagine you were dating and you just picked the first thing that showed interest in you. Do you honestly think that would be the best match? Now, maybe in some cases, maybe you got lucky and that first person you ever went on a date with on your dating app was the dream, but I highly doubt it. You might have several job offers, but you want to be super careful about the company that you choose along with that culture. I have been in a lot of jobs that I absolutely hated and was not a good culture fit, and I really wish I had done some vetting beforehand, but I was so focused on just getting a job and making a lot of money. And you know what? I would have made more money if I had just waited and been more choosy about the types of jobs. When you go on these job interviews, remember that they're not just interviewing you, but you're interviewing them. Like, you want to make sure that you're not going to hate your life when you get there, because there's literally nothing worse than having a high-paying job that you absolutely hate. At least when you're in a low-paying job that you hate, you have absolute hope that you can get out of it, right? When you're in a high-paying job that you hate, you don't have really that hope anymore. Like, more money isn't going to make it better. You could get paid double and still hate your job. And then you start to fantasize about becoming like a cashier at a restaurant, and you're like, man, I would love to have that job. And that is when you know you probably need to change the direction that you're going in a way. Be careful about the job you choose. And if you're curious, I do have a program where I have packaged up all of my knowledge to help you get a job in cybersecurity in months and not years. I literally go over how you can acquire skills super fast. I go over the attack and defense portion. I have you go over governance, risk, and compliance, and actually doing real world projects on governance, risk, compliance, defense, and malware analysis and incident response and all of that, along with things such as negotiation. And that in itself you are going to need to know, because you're going to have so many job offers. Don't take the first thing that comes along. Hundreds of jobs. Don't. So if you're interested in this program, I do have an application below that you can go and check out. And I'm not launching until June 1st because I've had way more interest than I thought I would. And so be on the lookout for an email if you have applied. Don't worry. I see your application. Go look at that, and I will see you in the program, Upskilled Cyber, or in the next video. Until then, bye.